Good afternoon, West USA. My name is Tatum Carlson with West USA. I'm the executive assistant here. We have Daniel Mutch on. He's going to go ahead and give us a tutorial of how to use the Zillow 3D home tours. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it on over to Daniel, and he will get you guys going through this PowerPoint.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I appreciate the time, everybody. Today's presentation, definitely I want it to be more of a conversation. So I know at the moment, everyone's mics are muted, but I believe there's a chat function. So feel free as I kind of go over really the steps to be able to take Zillow 3D tours yourself, or have anyone on your team or any of your clients take them. If any questions pop up, definitely go ahead and enter them in. And then at the end of my presentation, after I go over kind of the step-by-step basis to take the tours, I'll go over those questions as well. But again, want to thank you for your time, and I know your time is valuable, so I'll make sure I'll kind of go quick today, go over the main kind of points. I thought I'd quickly just start by joking. I feel like I've been bouncing back to back to all these virtual meetings, and I wonder if you guys kind of feel the same. I have been also keeping in touch with family and friends, right? Usually using the same webinars, and so I feel like last night I was chatting with my parents, and the video pops up, and I just found myself using the same language that I use in meetings for business and at Zillow. So I was like, "Hey, mom and dad, great to see you. Here's the quick agenda for tonight." And I was like, "Wait, what am I saying?" Sorry, I've been living in web conferences all week. So I appreciate your time. Again, appreciate you logging on to a webinar like this. But we'll dive right into the content. Speaking of kind of me and my team, I work on the Zillow Rich Media team, and our mission has always been to create the most vibrant and engaging shopping experience for buyers on your listings on Zillow. And that mission is more true now than it ever has been. Speaking about that agenda that I mentioned and joked about, today I want to make sure that I quickly go over the benefits of using a Zillow 3D home tour to create a virtual tour that you can share during this time of social distancing. I think it's one of many tools that I hope you guys are able to use, in amongst being able to FaceTime with your clients, take a video of a listing and show it. I'd love for the free Zillow 3D home app be just a super handy tool that you can add to your tool belt during these times and capture tours or instruct somebody else to capture a tour of the listing. So we'll definitely go step by step how to capture and publish the tours. Like I said, I want to be able to answer any and all of your questions to make sure that even just after today and after this webinar, you could take a quick test 3D tour of your own living room, and then even go out to listings today and take a 3D tour. And then most importantly, after you take the 3D tour, there's always the question about what do I do with it? And so I want to be able to show you today how to share it on the MLS, submit it to the MLS listing, share it on social media, but even share it more personally over email and text with any of your clients. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of data right now. Over the past year, Zillow has been running surveys just to find out what home shoppers want when we kind of ask questions like, what is the best shopping experience look like when you log on online? And it's been pretty exciting. These are surveys from 2019. So I would say these are even more relevant now, but we found that specifically millennials, which today are the largest buying segment, nearly half of them tell us that they love to see a virtual immersive tour before they visit a home. And about the same amount say they really value it when their listing agent lets them know in a presentation, right? That listing presentation, hey, I use virtual tours to help market your home. Of course, this is more relevant now than ever. And I think even more of survey respondents would say that this is something they really are looking forward to when they're working with an agent. Since the launch specifically of 3D Home, it's incredibly encouraging to share with you some of the numbers that we've seen. We've just seen crazy engagement between home shoppers and then these listings that have a 3D tour posted. So I quickly listed them out. Homes since May 2019 that have had a 3D tour have received 2 times more views, 50% more saves, and then this is the most important one. Homes with 3D tours have been on the market 10% fewer days until selling that have a 3D tour. So certainly, you know, I think these numbers will transfer over to today's time where everything is now virtual. But just very encouraging. If you take the time to capture a 3D tour, there's a lot of benefits that we're seeing with the home shopper experience and engagement. Again, I was sharing some stats before about millennials, but the entire population and all generations that we surveyed, over half of buyers said that they actually would prefer to look at a 3D tour than just the same static photos. And as we talk about, you know, places to share the tours, obviously my goal today is for you to be able to put these 3D tours everywhere. You know, send them over text, send them over email, put them on the MLS. But today, Zillow is the largest real estate network on the web. I think it's always kind of fun to share. Today, we receive 195 million monthly unique users. So I would say that, you know, I want you to add the 3D tours everywhere, but probably the most important place to have these 3D tours is on the Zillow listing. And luckily, that's built right into the app. And so automatically, your tours, when you click publish, will show on Zillow, and then I'll show you how to share them everywhere else too. So quickly, I think a lot of these are pretty obvious. Certainly the fact that you guys have shown up today, I think you have already an idea of how valuable 3D tours can be, but I'll quickly rattle off some of the benefits. If you are a buyer, and right now you can look through a virtual tour that someone posts on a house that you're interested in, it's an incredible way to visualize your life inside of that home without having to step indoors. For a seller that's looking to sell their home during this time, being able to have people tour your home in a 24/7 open house, right, without them ever having to step foot in the door, it's incredibly valuable. 72% of sellers that we surveyed, this is a good stat to call out, said having a 3D tour was extremely important to them. And of course, for you, I'd love for you to be able to position yourself as a helper in these times, somebody that has solutions for both buyers and sellers to provide a virtual open house that people can use without needing to set physically foot into a home. So that brings us to, of course, the app itself. The quick value prop of this is that it's fast. As we go over the steps today, my goal is that you can capture these tours in 15 to 30 minutes. It's 100% free. It's free to upload to Zillow, it's free to share, and it's free to host. And the good news is that our tours never expire. So, I mean, you could leave a tour up for years on years. A lot of agents, after they take a few tours, will then continue to use their favorite tour to use as an example for other clients. And that is possible, and that is all free. And then, like I mentioned before, I think the most exciting stat that we've seen is that homes since May that have had a 3D tour have sold 10% faster on average. Part of the reason why there's more views, more saves, is we heavily promote the 3D tours on Zillow itself. So I wanted to quickly show you, if you're searching for a home as a buyer, and most of our shoppers are coming to us on their phones, we do call out with a special badge in the corner and on the pages that certain homes have a 3D tour. That draws people's attention and eyes. This is what the search results look like on a desktop computer or laptop as you're scrolling through. So again, a 3D badge that shows in the corner of the listing. This is usually in place of just the default number of days on market. When someone actually clicks onto your listing, the 3D tours actually show as the fourth photo, and they show double wide. So it's another way to quickly draw attention to the fact that your listing does have a virtual tour. And then what's really exciting is that as long as you log in to the 3D app using the same email address as your Zillow profile, the profile that you've uploaded a profile photo to, and put in your name, we automatically then take your name and photo and put it in the corner to automatically brand the tours. So that's exciting. If somebody is walking through the home, just like this, they'll see your name and photo up in the corner. And certainly if you have questions about making sure that you have the right photo and the right name in the corner, I can help you with that too. So I quickly wanted to go over how to create a 3D home tour. The first thing that you can do, and you can even do this actually right now as you follow along, is actually download the app from the App Store. I kind of want to take a quick moment just to apologize if you are an Android user. We right now only have the Zillow 3D Home app available for iPhones, specifically an iPhone 7 or newer. There is currently work going on to create the Android version, but unfortunately they haven't given me a timeline for when that's going to be completed. So, you know, thinking realistically, if you don't have an iPhone personally, there is an option to use an iPad and pair it up with one of the 360 cameras. So if you have an iPad in the office, I'll go over what 360 cameras you can use. Those 360 cameras start at $250. So to be honest, it's a lot cheaper than having to go out and buy an iPhone if you're not an iPhone user. We'll keep everyone up to date when an Android version releases, but if you have other staff members that have an iPhone, I'd encourage them to maybe be the ones that go out and capture the listings. Or if you have a friend or family member that will let you borrow their iPhone, that's another possibility too. But for our iPhone users, you just go into the App Store, and if you search Zillow 3D Home, you can even do it right now and follow along. That's the app, and it's an orange logo that you'll want to look for. And you'll just log in with your Zillow credentials. If you've created a username and a profile before, you'll just want to log in there again to make sure, right, that your name is appearing in the corner like I showed you. So after you have downloaded the app, there's a few things to keep in mind when you are about to take your tour. We do recommend that you bring as much light into the room as possible. So turning on all lights, overhead lights, even accent lights, you know, in the kitchen, if there's lights underneath the cabinets, turn those on. Go ahead and open up all of the curtains to bring in as much natural light as well. The images look a lot better just if, again, there's as much light to kind of bring out everything as possible. Go ahead and turn off any fans or televisions, anything that might appear blurry, right, with movement as you're taking these. And then we also encourage you to open up all of the connecting doors so that people that are viewing the tours can get a good sense of, you know, if I go through this doorway, this open door, that takes me from the kitchen, right, to the bathroom, or that takes me from one of the bedrooms back into the hallways. So the quick steps here, of course, once you open up the app, there is a big blue button that says Create 3D Home. You'll go ahead and press that. It'll give you the option to use a 360 camera or use your iPhone camera. In this case, I'm assuming most of us will use the iPhone. So you'd click iPhone camera. The next thing it'll do is it'll prompt you for the address of the listing that you're at. You can search for the address, enter it in, but I want to encourage you, sometimes our system, and depending on how good your cell service is at the house, sometimes the app struggles to find the house where you're at. And so it is perfectly fine to click Add Address Later and add the address back to your tour once you're home. The app will allow you to capture the whole tour even without an address. So don't stop and don't you know, freak out if you can't find the address there in a moment when you're ready to take a tour. And then it'll immediately prompt you to take your first panorama. I encourage everybody to start actually in the front yard and then work your way through the house. So start with a 360 panorama of the front yard, then take one of the front entryway right in front of the front door, and then slowly work your way through the house. A quick encouragement, there's no required path that you have to take through the house. So I just encourage you to take it kind of however you would do it best. A good way to think about it is just, you know, take the panoramas in the same order as what you would show somebody in person through the house. A few quick tips. all you need to really do is stand in the middle of the room to capture the panorama. I wouldn't worry about trying to get any wide angles by standing in a corner. The panoramas actually don't turn out very well if you're standing too close to one wall. So put yourself just in the middle of each room. Our recommendation is one panorama per room in the house. You'll see that in another slide. As long as you hold your iPhone just straight up and down in front of you, right around shoulder height. Again, if folks are a little taller, a little shorter, that's fine. The optimal height, I would say, is between 4 to 5 feet. Once you're standing there with the phone straight up and down, just slowly turn to your right in a full 360 degrees. If you've ever captured just pano images using your iPhone's phone before, the experience is just the same thing. You're essentially spinning around in a full circle. You can kind of see it here on the right-hand side, but we guide you through capturing the full panorama by presenting these rectangles, these gray rectangles. And I kind of call it the Pac-Man experience. Essentially, you're just lining up the viewer with the rectangles and just gobbling them up as you turn to the right. As I mentioned, we recommend really just one panorama per room. For larger rooms, certainly you're welcome to take more than one. I think in a larger living room or a larger dining room, it might be nice to take more than one panorama just to show a few different angles. Same thing with a kitchen. If it's a larger kitchen, you might want to take a panorama right behind the sink. You might want to take another panorama, closer to the refrigerator. If it has an island, you might want to show off the granite island from a few different perspectives. But at a minimum, I would say just one panorama per room. This map that you see, I think is actually really handy. It kind of gives you an idea of, both capturing shots, one per room. You'll notice that for the hallways, it is important, if there's a connecting hallway to get to some of the bedrooms, it is important to capture a panorama in the hallway so that someone can go to the hallway and then walk into each of the bedrooms. I'll be sending this deck out afterwards. So this map, which I think is really handy, you'll be able to access in the PowerPoint after this and refer back to it as a good way to kind of visualize, where to take all of your panoramas in each house. Like I was mentioning here, the larger the room kind of gives you a little more opportunity to take more if you like. I do want to encourage you right now that for small bathrooms, especially if you are using an iPhone, sometimes the images turn out a little claustrophobic. And if they do, it's perfectly fine to actually remove those, remove a panel from your tour. I'd even encourage you to skip a lot of the smaller rooms, like a small bathroom, maybe a small mudroom. One of the nice parts about our 3D tours is there's no required number of panoramas that you need in a house. So I would say just the main rooms, the bedrooms, the kitchen, the living room, the family room, the front yard, the backyard, if you want to show those off, are really just the main ones that you need to hit on. As you start to capture, of course, it'll prompt you to continue adding rooms. It'll also prompt you, as you can see just on the screenshot, you can add additional floors. Question I get a lot is if there are stairs, do I need to capture a panorama in the middle of the stairs? The answer is no. I'd encourage you, if there are stairs in a house, just capture a panorama at the top of the stairs and the bottom of the stairs, just so someone can move between those 2 points and can get to a second story, can get to a basement easily, and still have a good idea of where they are in the house. What's quite nice is that while you're capturing each panorama, you can preview them. And this is important because when you do finish a tour and you click the All Panoramas Complete button, there's not an option to go back and re-add rooms. Certainly my goal in the first place is that you wouldn't actually need to drive back to a property or have someone go back and capture the tour again. But I want to encourage you to actually preview each of the panos to make sure they turned out the way you like before you finish and click all panoramas complete. And you can do that just by clicking on a panel that you took. There is an option to delete a panel and retake it. You know, if a cat appeared in the image and you know, is blurring, you can delete and retake that room. And that's a very nice option. The other big encouragement here is that you don't need to have Wi-Fi at the house or a cell signal to actually capture the tour. You can capture these tours completely offline, and then when you click all panoramas complete, it'll finish the tour, and the tour will just wait to upload until either you are back in cell connection or you're back at your home or your office where you have Wi-Fi. And the tour itself will save. You can even, after you click all panoramas complete, you can even close out of the app and it'll save the tour. And then once you're back home on Wi-Fi, just open the app again and it'll automatically start uploading and processing your tour. It'll also send you a confirmation email. Let's say you do go back home, you connect to Wi-Fi, it'll send you an email when the tour is finished uploading. Why uploading is important is that once it's finished uploading, you'll then be able to publish to the Zillow listing and then gain access to being able to share it on the MLS, over email, over text, and on social media. Again, or quickly, once you do click all panoramas complete, it'll ask you if you want to finish and publish right away or finish and wait to publish. Either is fine. I think if you are in a hurry, certainly you can finish and publish the tour right then and there. Or if you would like to take a little more time, if you're the type of person that wants to make sure your tour is perfect, there are ways to go and make sure all of the arrows are correctly aligned. If you're that type of person, maybe a little perfectionist or have some time to look over the tour, finish without publishing is maybe the way to go. And again, once you do upload and publish, again, that tour will automatically post to your listing. Right there is the fourth image. And automatically your profile photo and name will appear in the corner. And real quickly, there is the option to use the 360 cameras. I'll send out some links, but this is completely optional. Some of the reasons why some of our offices and agents use this is because it actually does let you go faster through the house. I would say using an iPhone, it takes on average between 20 to 30 minutes to take a tour of a 2,000 square foot house. If you use one of these cameras, it brings it down usually to about 10 to 15 minutes. And when they start at $250, you're going to be doing a lot of these over the next few weeks. It might actually be worth your time to go ahead and invest in one. So I'll send over the links to where you can purchase these cameras after this webinar. But just something to keep in mind, this is optional, but it will save you time and actually give a little increased field of view, right? This is a professional 360 camera as opposed to your iPhone. So it'll take a little nicer images too. So let's talk about sharing, of course. Just inside of your 3D app on your phone, there is a tab at the very bottom that'll be labeled My 3D Tours. That's where all of your tours will be stored. So right from your phone, you can go in, click on your 3D tours you've taken in the past, and then click on these three dots next to a tour. That'll bring up an option to share. And this is how you can immediately just share off your phone and text a 3D tour to a client or any stakeholders. It'll also prompt you to send it over email from your phone as well. This is probably the fastest and quickest way to immediately start sharing your tours. There is another option to actually log on from a laptop or a tablet or your PC at home and actually share through something we call the dashboard. This is something you can log into there at the URL address listed. I'll send a quick link to this in my follow-up email, but this just makes it a little bit easier to manage and edit your tours from the convenience of a laptop or a desktop once you're back home. And once you're logged in on a laptop or a PC, this is the share window that comes up. You'll follow similar steps to click on the tour you want to edit or share. And then we give you quick links to go ahead and post it to social media. This is also where you'll find the MLS link. This is an unbranded link, so the Zillow logo and a link to the Zillow listing can all be hidden so that it only shows the house itself. To make sure you're MLS compliant, it might be good just to skip the front yard if you do have a front yard sign, or if it's a front yard sign that you can, you know, pull up out of the ground or quickly move. I know some MLSs, right, can get pretty, they have strict guidelines for whether or not a sign can show in the front yard in photos and in tours. So you'll just want to adhere to those if you do plan to share on the MLS. It's perfectly fine to skip the front yard if you need to, and then just take the rest of the home. So who can capture a Zillow 3D home tour? So far, I've been talking about, you know, you yourselves or a team member actually capturing these, but I know that during these times, not everyone can gain access to a home. So I want you to know that actually anybody can download the Zillow 3D home app and take a tour. So that actually can be the homeowner themselves. You can send them the instruction guide that I'll send to you today in my follow-up email to them. They can take the 3D tours themselves and then send it to you to then share on the MLS forum. You can also, if you use a professional photographer or if you have a photographer on your staff, while they're taking the listing photos, they can capture a 3D home tour as well. The branding that I mentioned, right, your name appearing in the corner, as long as you are the listing agent, and maybe I should have introduced it this way to begin with, the listing agent for that property, that's whose branding is going to show in the corner. So if the homeowner does capture the 3D tour, if you're the listing agent, your name is still going to appear in that corner of the 3D tour like I was showing you. Quickly, if you do use a professional photographer, our team can train them up, kind of give them the same instruction I'm giving you today on how to take a 3D tour. So if you have a photographer that you'd like to be trained, down below, or you can actually reply to my email and connect me with them. Or if you're looking for a photographer, we have a list of Zillow certified photographers that you could reach out to. These are all photographers that have taken multiple 3D tours and are well versed on it. So this link at the very bottom is actually a link to our directory of where you can find a photographer in your area there in Phoenix that's certified. So that completes all of what I wanted to present in terms of step-by-steps. So we can start to move into the questions if the chat component can work here today. But just to quickly give you some of the most common questions that I get asked when I do these trainings. The first is there sound in a 3D tour? These tours are completely silent, actually. Home shoppers can view at their own pace. We often joke that, you know, if there was music in the background that started when you moved to each room, it would end up being a little choppy, right? And I mean, home buyers prefer to have their own music on in the background at their own house anyway. So is it available on Android? Again, I apologize to our Android users. Right now, I'm looking for an ETA, and I can certainly let you know as soon as I get a timeline for when we think an Android version of the app will be ready. But I wouldn't waste any time if you do have access, again, to other staff members or a photographer that has access to an iPhone, I'd get them to start capturing these tours. All of the 3D tours need to be captured through the Zillow 3D Home app. So make sure you are always clicking on the 3D Home app to take these tours, not inside of, if you're a Premier Agent, not inside of the Premier Agent app. Same with your photographers, make sure that they are using the Zillow 3D Home app. There's a lot of 3D tour platforms out there, but Zillow 3D is the only one that's free today. So make sure that your photographer is using the free version. And then, like I mentioned, there are, as an option, you can use a 360 camera. There are 2 models listed here, and I'll send links out to where you can find those if you are interested in my follow-up email. One of the best things is through all of this, if you have any questions at all, if one of your panoramas doesn't turn out, if you're having trouble finding your address of your listing, if you lost your 3D tour completely and are trying to get it recovered, send an email to 3dhome@zillowgroup.com. That's a support team completely committed to the 3D app and we're here to help if anything if you run into any issues at all. I'll admit, for most folks, they can get through the 3D tours pretty quickly. I think after you take a test tour just of your own living room to see how it all works, try the app out for yourself, people feel real confident using it once they do go out to a listing. So the app was, of course, built for anybody to use. You don't have to have any prior experience. But if any questions come to mind, feel free to reach out to 3dhome@zillowgroup.com. At this point, I'd go ahead and maybe pull it open to any questions in the chat. If you don't have any questions, feel free to log off. I'll give you back your time as well. Like I said, I'll make sure I send out a follow-up email with all of this information with this deck, as well as links to the cameras, and certainly you can interface back and forth with me if you have any questions yourself.